Uh, this is Cooking with Nono again, and what I'm doing today is I'm going to make what's called cioppino. It's actually an American dish that was developed by the Italian fishermen in San Francisco on Fisherman's Wharf, and I'll give you the history of that once I go through with the ingredients here. And again, you know the way I cook. I deviate from the standard recipes. Well, there is no recipe for cioppino, but this is Japanese seafood stock, which I will add to the water. And this will be the basic broth for the cioppino. Okay. Start. So that we get a good base going here. And now what I'm adding is the basic seasoning, garlic, Italian Viagra, as if Italians need Viagra, but that's what it is. So put the garlic in first, chopped onion, some Salvadoran peppers to give the cioppino a little bit of a kick. But again, this is not part of the recipe that the fishermen used on Fisherman's Wharf. They probably just started out with seawater as a base. And so, the very first thing we put in here are the clams. And by the way, these are blood clams, if you're wondering what kind of clams I'm using. And let these cook. Now, here we have some mussels, and I'd like to show you one of these mussels, because these are what are called New Zealand mussels, and you can find these at any Asian store. And I like them much better than the bearded mussels, and they're no work when you buy them like this. If you're fortunate enough, when you go to the Asian market, sometimes they have New Zealand mussels with roe, and that is a real treat if you can ever find that. So, put this in here. Now we will put in our calamari rings.
That's the fish too.
With fish. And the shrimp. Oh. This is too gnarly. And let's see, for the final ingredients, eat a pie here. For the final ingredients, I have some Tuscan seasoning, some oregano, some garlic powder, fresh basil, and here is something that you can get in any Asian market, and that's fresh bay leaf, because everybody's used to cooking with dry bay leaves. Okay, so these are the basic ingredients. We'll give them a stir here. Again, so the way this started was on Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. The Italian fishermen would come in every evening, and they'd share their catch, and everybody would contribute something to the pot, and they would cook it. And then, naturally, the smell would be everywhere. And let me give this a cover here. And the tourists would come by, and they would smell the cioppino, and the fishermen, being the generous people that they are, would offer them some. And then it became more and more popular. More people started showing up, and so the fishermen decided, well, why don't we sell them? Which they did. Had a great response. And then they opened the restaurants right there on Fisherman's Wharf. So if you go to San Francisco Fisherman's Wharf, you know, that's the origin of cioppino there. And the family of fishermen's families, you know, they started those restaurants. Another thing too is, you know, when you cook, you're cooking something, you really have to have some respect for your food. I mean, these animals gave their life essence to us as a gift so that we can live and enjoy it, in addition to, you know, having a good taste, a good odor. And
Smells good too.
yeah, it's gonna start smelling very good soon. And you know, as I'm saying, you really have to have a respect for your food, because this is a gift of nature. You know, people will say grace and really not think about what they're doing. But next time you have a meal, sit down, think of where it came from. But this is a gift of nature that you should have respect for and enjoy it. And then, you know, people go to fast food restaurants. To me, the culinary equivalent of a fast food restaurant is a one-night stand. I mean, you know, that's about what it is. You just go there and you satisfy a need or a desire immediately. And again, you know, we can learn that from relationship with nature, that actually, you know, humans were given a stewardship over nature, and instead of a stewardship, they turn it into a dominion, which is typical of humans. And you know, we have to get back to stewardship and respecting nature, because if we don't, nature is going to fight back, and we've seen it happen many times. So, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to philosophize like that, but that's the way I feel. Not only do I like to cook, but I like to respect where my food came from. And the final touch here is crushed tomato. Again, tutto rosso, crushed Italian tomatoes. And, tutto rosso is one of my favorite brands. Tutto rosso translates to totally red. So we add this. Again, we stir. Yeah. I know you're looking forward to this, Evelyn, because I know how much you love. I know how much you love seafood, and but
Yeah.
you can't wait so we can dig into this after we make the video. Yeah.
We'll probably bring them some Salvadorian
Yeah.
recipes in the future.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I say,
We'll put you to learn to do it first, though. And then
you know,
we can-
as long as people respond and they want to see my videos,
yeah.
you know, I'd be more than happy to branch out.
Leave a comment if you do like. We'd like to see that.
So, and I think I mentioned, you know, people want to know what in advance what I'm going to be cooking. So, next cooking session, I will be doing chicken livers, one of my mother's recipes, and it's called fegato al pollo con pappardelle. I'm gonna do pappardelle pasta with that. So, if you like chicken livers, watch my next episode. But this is a really fantastic dish. And we'll let this cook for a while. Boy, there's a lot of food here. If you notice from my past group of videos, I've been wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And, you know, why? Well, you see, since this is really a therapy for me because of losing my wife. And, you know, I don't want to get too introspective and sound like Woody Allen, okay? I'm just explaining why I'm doing this. But, you know, Hawaii was my wife and I's favorite place to go. We first went to Hawaii in 1983. We took a helicopter trip over the volcano, Kahoea, on the Big Island. And, you know, we were flying over the volcano. We looked down. My wife turned to me and she says, "Don't you think this is strange?" And I said, "What?" She said, "Here, we're flying over Hawaii with a Japanese pilot," which was pretty funny. But anyway, after I retired, we would go spend an entire month on Maui. We'd been to all the Hawaiian Islands, and we decided Maui was our best. And so we would explore. After a while, we got to know every inch of Maui, by the way. And my daughter got married on Maui, by the way. But we would stay on West Maui. And there was an area at West Maui that you were not allowed to drive on. But, you know, being an Italian, of course I drove on that road. And I was so sure that I was going to precede my wife that I pointed out the spot. I said, "This is where I want my ashes when I pass." But that's not what happened. You know, it's so interesting. I guess it's a joke about Italian nature of me driving on a road that I wasn't supposed to drive on. Goes this NATO paratroopers.
It's gonna overcook.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we can just turn this off and let it set.
Yep.
So anyway, to tell my story, or to tell the joke, not my story, this is about NATO paratroopers. And the first guy to the door is a Frenchman. And the jump master says, "It's very fashionable to jump out of airplanes." So naturally, the Frenchman jumps out. The next paratrooper is an Englishman. The jump master says, "It's very sporting to jump out of airplanes." So naturally, the Englishman jumps. And then the Italian paratrooper comes up. And the jump master says, "You are absolutely forbidden to jump out of this airplane." That is so typical of Italian characters. So I guess this concludes this part of my video for today. But there's another thing I'd like to show you that goes along with this. And this is very Italian. It's a citrus salad. And I dribble some olive oil on there. And then I used Japanese ume vinegar. And ume is Japanese for plum. So this is actually a Japanese plum vinegar. And it really gives a great taste. And believe me, you have to be careful using this vinegar because it has a lot of salt in it. So don't add salt to whatever you're using this with. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video.
Comment below.
Yeah, again, you know, if you leave comments, I have responded to some people's comments. Yeah, and another thing. Okay, you've watched me cook.
Positive comments.
Yeah, you've watched me cook, and you know that I don't follow recipes, and that's why, you know, people say, "Oh well, how about a recipe and a list of ingredients?" No, that's not the way I cook. If you want to do that, again, buy Marcelo Hazan's Italian cookbook, follow the directions. You know what you're going to get. Well, you're not going to get what I cook for sure, because there's a lot of creativity in what I did here. I used the Japanese stock, I used Japanese vinegar, so and again the Salvadoran peppers to give it a tang. So look forward to my next video, and ciao.